Welcome back, everyone, to Between the Ropes TV. We are back again, and we're going to react to let's just say it's been a big news for boxing, hasn't it, today? It reminds me of one of them, Josh. Do you know when you maybe had a supply teacher in school, and then someone was going to, you'd have someone, you'd all plan a prank, and you'd all be egging someone up to like go first and do it. And it kind of felt like that, didn't it? Because one big news got announced, and then they just kept coming, and we're going to cover obviously 3 of them today. Firstly, we're going to jump into Mikey Garcia, obviously back in action. I know it's something that you wanted to speak about in particular, Josh. What do you make of this announcement?
No, I'm so glad that he's going to be back in the ring. He's a great fighter. Obviously multi-weight world champion. He tried to obviously step up with the Errol Spence fight.
Yeah.
And that takes balls of steel, doesn't it? To jump up divisions and go in with probably definitely at the time the number 1 in the division, and he didn't shame himself. We got him back against Sandor Martin. He's experienced, 38-2. If we're being brutally honest, I'd expect Mikey Garcia to come through it well. There was obviously a lot of talk about the Regis Prograis fight, and I think that may be something that we get sort of early into next year. But buzzing to have Mikey Garcia back. I'm really glad to see him back in the ring. So that's October the 16th, guys. And then I think that, I'll hand it back to you, but that leads us on nicely then into a busy winter, doesn't it?
It does, and 2 big heavyweight announcements. I mean, you kind of saw... We'll jump into the Dillian Whyte announcement first. I mean, he's come up against Otto Wallin. I mean, that fight's going to be October the 30th, as the ticker says. Interesting one, isn't that, this? Because we know that Tyson Fury has bouted him for a potential December clash. I mean, does this fight kind of make that almost impossible? Because would Dillian Whyte, maybe if he comes unscathed, he could potentially jump into the week, into a camp straight away, but it would be very back to back, wouldn't it? Firstly, on that subject.
Definitely. I mean, we spoke about it, annoyingly, we did a video earlier this week, didn't we? And, at the time, all fingers were pointing to Chris Arreola. And with that fight, I thought potentially it's the Tyson Fury thing, maybe more doable. It's an easier fight. If Whyte could have sort of got him out of there in 2 or 3 rounds unscathed, it's something you can look at, isn't it? I think the biggest issue with that fight was always going to be actually Tyson Fury, and more so his team, as we said the other day, getting into it and getting that fight made. But, purely on a Dillian Whyte basis, hats off to the man. He is fearless. Otto Wallin pushed Fury to his limits. Fury was not lucky, but, no one could have argued if that fight had been stopped on cuts.
No, definitely not, no.
Exactly. Since then, beat Dominic Breazeale, who, was one of the first to give AJ a few rounds, although it wasn't that competitive. Obviously, he's been in very briefly with Deontay Wilder. But, Otto Whyte, he's a good operator. He's proven that. This is another high-risk fight for Dillian Whyte. I'm so excited about it. I just hope it's not one gamble too many. We saw it nearly backfire with Povetkin. Fingers crossed for him. I mean, what do you think on this?
And I think it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because it's a very high risk. Otto Wallin, he's not any, he's quite a respected fighter, I think, within those that know the boxing. But I think he's not going to be a massive name to excite perhaps neutral fans that would just be or maybe fans that don't follow boxing massively. I mean, you wonder if he could have chose an easier heavyweight clash. I mean, I'd even throw maybe Hunter into that kind of argument. Whyte, and you wonder if he could have chosen an easier heavyweight clash that would have perhaps a bigger name, but he's not done that. He's done what he always does for me. He's gone for he's gone for the purest way. He's gone for a big fight, and who knows, maybe if he does come out unscathed and Tyson Fury is speaking the truth, who knows, maybe we'll see a warm-up fight for, as Fury's put it. I think it definitely wouldn't be just a warm-up fight for Joshua, would it? But yeah, I think, who knows, we could see that at the end of the year. But yeah, I mean, obviously we'll do a full preview on the Whyte Wallin, but it's going to be a really interesting one. It is going to be a big risk for Whyte, and it's going to be interesting to see just what happens. I think I saw a few people making some points about Wallin probably doesn't win this on points, but as we know, Whyte has he has gone in too much at some time to kill off his opponent. We saw that with Povetkin, and you just worry, could the same happen again?
All I'd say, I agree with you. You know, the casual fan, Otto Wallin, probably doesn't excite them. They probably just know him for losing to Fury without knowing too much more. But the same criticism was made when he fought Oscar Rivas, and what a fight that turned out to be. So I'm excited for this. I really am.
And again, Rivas, that was another one where you kind of thought, oh, that's a really good, you know, for those that follow White and the heavyweight
It's a proper
division,
fight, yeah.
especially, that was a good fight. And again, you know, I'm really looking forward to this one. And I'm even moving on to another one that got announced today that I'm sure everyone's looking forward to. Derek Chisora back in action. He's coming up against Joseph Parker, obviously the rematch. And the first fight for me, it was a very close fight, wasn't it? And it was a typical... it was a kind of example. I think you saw it with Usyk as well, with in terms of Chisora, where he was throwing a lot of punches, and people would argue either way who actually won that. Obviously, you know, he was on the negative both times round, being handed a loss. But Josh, are you excited to see this one?
Really excited. It's deserved. I agree with you. I'd almost say Derek Chisora is like the reverse of a hometown advantage, if that makes sense, because he never seems to get the nod in fighting in the UK or in Europe for that matter, in fairness. But, you know, Usyk, I mean, I've watched that fight 2 or 3 times. I do think Usyk won it, but my God, did Chisora push him all the way. And then I'll be honest, I thought Chisora beat Parker in the first fight. I thought he won it by 2 rounds. I really did. And again, I've watched that 2 or 3 times, and every time I think, no, same score, Chisora's won it. So I just hope Chisora can knock him out this time. Obviously, we very, very nearly saw the first round knockout this in the first fight. I hope we see it this time because, you know, you look at Chisora's record, it's 32 wins, 11 losses. And that makes him sound like a lot worse of a fighter than he is. But when you think in those 11 losses, there's 2 losses to Tyson Fury. There's Usyk in there, obviously Parker, you know, these are
Dillian
world
Whyte,
champions. David Haye, Dillian Whyte. He's only lost at that absolute peak level for me. And, you know, a couple of those losses you could argue he didn't deserve. Obviously, you know, he gets a bad press for the Caballel a few years ago over in Monaco. Yeah, that wasn't great. But, you know, since that, what is it, probably the last 3.5 years now, he's come on and he's such a crowd pleaser. I mean, we've already said today we're going to be trying to go to the fight. Yeah, and I don't think we're going to be on our own. You know, the atmosphere that Del Boy brings, it's just incredible. Cannot wait for this fight. And I'll be honest, I presume we must have paid Parker a lot of money for this fight because I don't really get what Parker gets out of it. You know, he was quite fortunate to get the decision once, and he talks a lot about wanting to have another run at a world title. And the way he struggled with Derek Chisora, this fight could actually be the end for him. I just hope, you know, David Haye obviously did a good job getting Chisora in shape for a fight. He's now signed with 258 Management. That was another announcement this week. I just hope he comes with that same, you know, regime, that same intensity, because not only is it so fan-friendly, it's also so effective. So I just hope we get that from him. But what a day for announcements. I'm absolutely buzzing.
It definitely is, and I think that is one interesting thing, isn't it? You just wonder maybe Parker, as he tried to get himself a bigger fight, and now it's just come to it that he doesn't want to be too inactive. I mean, you know, that could also be a major thing. We know Parker as well. He's not a ticket seller, is he? Really, I think Chisora's going to be the main pull here. But yeah, definitely, it's definitely going to be one that we want to go to, and I think it's one of those as well where, you know, we hope. As you say, you kind of hope it's a first round knockout, but if we're there, I really hope it doesn't. I hope we see a good 10 rounds of boxing with a big Chisora finish. That would be the dream. But as you say, I think Chisora's just going to have the crowd, isn't he? I mean, he's so loved. And I think that's the thing with Chisora as well. 11 losses to his name. But he has truly, and he is the true definition of not ever being scared to take a fight. You know, he'll take whoever. It doesn't matter if he's going to be in the underdog for most of them. And I think he really is, you know, he should be proved to every boxer out there that's scared of getting those losses to the record. You know what? If you can please the crowd, if you can entertain, if you can get the good, you know, good fights that people want to see at all times, then you can still sell out arenas, can't you? And I think he's just proof of that. But you don't. Some of these heavyweight boxers seem scared to get a loss on the card, and I think Chisora is that true boxer that just is not scared to take on anyone. And yeah, let's hope he gets the win. You know, I'm going to be biased. I really want him to get the win.
No, so do I. I'd love him to get it. I mean, we talked about it briefly the other day. Fury's 5-fight plan. I'd love Chisora to get that trilogy. I wouldn't expect him to win, but he's just one. You can't help but pull for him. You just want him to do well. And, you know, he's given us, as, you know, British boxing fans, some big nights. We've definitely got at least one more, but I hope, you know, he can get back to winning ways and get on a little bit of a roll.
But I have to ask the question, Josh. Obviously, you know, we've seen David Haye bring that kind of calming figure to him, especially in these press conferences. Obviously, Haye's not going to be there anymore. He's gone on his own boxing venture, you know, calling out Tyson Fury, etc., etc. But do you think we could see the Chisora that's a bit more explosive in those press conferences? Do you think that, or do you think he's now just more level-headed and it weren't really Haye being that calming effect? It was more just him coming with maturity?
I was going to say, I think there's an element of maturity. But, you know, in the first fight, we did see on the day of the weigh-in, if you remember, we saw that old Derek Chisora, didn't we, with the whole who's walking in first and refusing the coin toss. I mean, I probably shouldn't say this. I was sat at work, glued to my phone, just watching, because IFL were live with David Haye, and it was just hilarious. It's what, I mean, it must be a manager and a promoter's nightmare when you've got a fighter bloody 18 hours before the fight saying, oh, well, I'm not fighting then.
And
but it's the craziness. Go on.
I was going to say, of course, there was the other one, wasn't there, where he was demanding to be the leading card. I forgot which fight it was for, but there was the one where
Josh Taylor Ridge's program, wasn't it? Yeah.
He was literally just going, well, I'm just selling the tickets for these bums. I'm not gonna fight if I'm not the main fight. And of course he ends up fighting, but that is Chisora, isn't it?
You know what I love about him? He gets that sort of slagging. And, you know, some of it's tongue-in-cheek, and I get that. Everyone's got an opinion. But, you know, you go back to then when I think he fought Senad Gashi and Dave Allen, boxed Lucas Brown back at the O2. And, you know, he went on record and said, no, he was going to be the main event. And he said, give it to Dave Allen, because obviously it was a dream for him. So, you know, that's the Chisora that I love. You know, when he feels like he's got a point, he's got a point. But, you know, he's not a bad guy, is he? And he's someone you just can't help but get behind. And, I mean, I'm mad excited for the build to this. And we'll be there. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm already nervous to see if we get tickets or not, you know, but hopefully we are. Literally 7 days before Christmas. I'm sure the O2 will be... no, it's not the O2. It's Manchester, isn't it? I'm sure Manchester will be rocking with the old Derek Chisora chants. We'll be in full swing, probably with a few beers in our hands as well. So, yeah, looking forward to that one. Also looking forward to Whyte Wallin. And obviously good to see Mikey Garcia back in action. So, yeah, great day for boxing in conclusion. And, yeah, I suppose I'll just jump straight into my usual outro. Guys, if you have watched all of this, come on, we deserve a like. And more importantly, we deserve a subscribe. We're pushing, we want to push on. We want to push on, crack these 100 subs. And then, yeah. You know, just keep going from there. So, yeah, please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe. And we shall see you on the next video.
Cheers, guys.